It's easy to feel trapped when you live with pain that impacts you every day. Some people, that pain is physical. For others, it may be emotional, psychological, relational, or spiritual. It may come through disability, chronic illness, anxiety, grief, burnout, trauma, financial pressure, or a season of life that simply feels too much to carry. Whatever form it takes, pain has a way of getting our attention. At first, that attention may be useful. Pain tells us that there's something going on, something matters, something may need care, something may need protection, something may need to be understood. But over time, pain can become more than something we experience. It can become something we build our lives around. In this article, I want to explore how relating to pain as a limitation can gradually constrict our freedom, and how changing our relationship with pain may open up new possibility for participating in life. For much of my life, I've lived with a serious mental condition, in fact several, that affect me every day. I know what it is to live with physical pain, hidden disability, uncertainty, embarrassment, and the ongoing management of a body that does not always cooperate with what I want to do. I also know what it is to try to fix, solve, manage and control pain in the hope that life will eventually open up once the pain is no longer such a problem. What I'm beginning to see more clearly is that the issue is not simply the pain itself. The issue is how I relate to the pain. I know that sounds simple, it kind of is, but it has not been simple for me. In fact, it's been confronting. And just recently I can see how over time I've related to pain as a limitation for so long now that I've unknowingly created a kind of cage for myself. The pain is real and the limitations are real, but the cage was not made of pain alone. It was also made of fear, attention, meaning, repeated conversations, mostly with myself, and the conclusions I had drawn about what way now possible for my life. Some of those conversations sounded like, I can't do this, or I need to be really careful. Things will get worse. It's what degenerative is, right? It gets worse. I have to manage this before I can move forward. Many things. My life is getting smaller. I'm stuck with this, and this is just how it is now. You may or may not live with chronic pain or disability, but I suspect most people can relate to this in some area of life. We all know what it is to have something happen that narrows our view of the future. A diagnosis, a loss, a failure, a betrayal, a season of anxiety, a financial crisis, a relationship breakdown, or a responsibility we didn't choose. When that happens, we do not only deal with the circumstances, we also begin relating to the circumstances. That relationship matters. I eventually discovered, I'm still discovering, I'd say, that our relationship with our circumstances can often become a major source of suffering, not only the circumstances themselves. This does not mean our circumstances are not real. It does not mean pain is imaginary. It does not mean we should pretend everything is fine. It simply means there is a difference between what is happening and the world of meaning we build around what is happening. Pain can limit us, that's true. But pain can also constrict our freedom. There is a difference. A limitation may give us information. It may tell us that something needs care, adaptation, pacing, or some wisdom. A limitation may be part of reality. Constriction is different. Constriction is what happens when the whole field of possibility begins to close. We no longer simply say, this is something I need to work with. We begin to say, this is all that is possible for me now. That is where pain becomes more than pain. It becomes the context through which we see ourselves, our future, our relationships, our work, our contribution, and our participation in life. This is why awareness is so important. Awareness is not just noticing things. Awareness is always directed somewhere. We're always aware of something from somewhere through some kind of interpretation. If my awareness is continually directed toward pain, fixing pain, solving pain, scanning for pain, fearing pain, and protecting myself from pain, then pain becomes central to how I experience life. Doesn't make me wrong, makes me human. When something hurts, we pay attention. When something feels threatening, we protect ourselves. When something has hurt us before, we naturally try to prevent it from happening again. These are understandable responses. But if fear becomes the organising force, life starts to shrink. Fear may tell us it is keeping us safe, but often it does not. It does so by reducing our participation in life. We withdraw, we avoid, we stop making plans, we stop making requests, we stop being honest, we stop creating, we stop contributing, we stop allowing ourselves to be seen. We wait until we feel better before we live. The problem is that the waiting can become a way of life. This is where I have found the distinction of freedom useful. From the being framework, freedom is not the absence of limitation. If freedom meant having no limits, none of us would ever be free. We all live with limits. We have limits in our bodies, our energy, our circumstances, our relationships, our time, our money, our knowledge, and our capacity. Freedom is the capacity to respond, choose, and participate in alignment with what matters, even inside real limitations. That changes the question. The question is not, how do I get rid of pain before I live? The question is, how can I relate to pain in a way that no longer constricts my freedom? This is the heart of what I call pain, possibility, and participation. Pain is the experience that interrupts ease. Possibility opens up when we become aware that our current relationship with pain is not the only possible relationship. Participation is where that new relationship becomes lived. In other words, the point is not to deny pain. The point is not to push through at any cost. The point is not to be positive, tough, spiritual, or impressive. The point is to begin noticing where pain has become the authority over your life, and then gently, honestly, and responsibly start taking that authority back. For me, this has included becoming aware of the conversations I'm having with myself. Words matter. Not because words magically create reality, but because words shape the worlds we live inside. If I continually say I am broken, that creates one world. If I say I am living with pain and I'm learning how to relate to it differently, well, that creates another. If I say I can't participate until this is fixed, that creates one world. If I say what kind of participation is available for me today, within my actual capacity, that creates another. This is not a small shift. It can change the direction of life. Participation does not have to be dramatic. Sometimes participation is making a phone call instead of withdrawing. Sometimes it is going outside for a few minutes. Sometimes it is attending church, having an honest conversation, writing a paragraph, asking for help, resting without shame, or doing one thing that expresses care for your life. These may seem like small actions, but they are not small when pain has been constricting your freedom. They are acts of participation. They are ways of saying pain is present, but it is not the whole story. For those of us who live with faith, this also touches something deeply spiritual. In Psalm 23, David does not say, "There is no valley." He says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." The valley is real. The shadow is real. But the presence of God changes David's relationship to threat. That really speaks to me. It reminds me that freedom is not found by pretending there is no pain, no fear, no limitation. Freedom is found in no longer allowing pain and fear to sit on the throne. Pain may be present. Fear may arise. Limitation may be real, but they do not have to define the whole of what is possible. That is not an easy lesson. I'm not writing this as someone who has mastered it. In many ways, I feel like I'm the guinea pig in my own work. I'm discovering the very thing I now want to invite others into. That feels humbling and in times embarrassing, but perhaps that's also what makes it real. The invitation is simple. Look at where pain, pressure, or limitation may have constricted your freedom. Notice the conversations you are having with yourself and living inside. Tell the truth about what hurts. Tell the truth about what you fear. Then ask, is this the only possible relationship I can have with this? You may not be able to choose the pain. You may not be able to choose the limitation. You may not be able to choose the circumstance, but perhaps you can begin to choose how you relate to it. And if that relationship can change, possibility may begin to open again. And if possibility opens, participation can begin again. Not perfectly, not without care, not without support, not without wisdom, course correction, not perfection, but genuinely, really genuinely, honestly. Because life is not waiting somewhere on the other side of pain. It's right here, right now. Life is here. And the question is whether we can become free enough to participate in it. So, that's my invitation. Reach out, get in touch, message me at waynestickle.com or the ingenesis.com website. You can look me up there. Get in touch and let's have a chat. And I hope you've enjoyed my beautiful view.